Apparently my wife got to watch the original when she was 5 because they thought it was a kid's film. Big mistake. Hi everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to Tread Talks, where I walk on this treadmill to stay in shape while making videos for you fine people. Over the years, I've learned to set a pretty low bar when it comes to horror films. Generally what you get is a nonsensical plot, characters that don't matter, and a bunch of cheap jump scares. And so I went into It with pretty low expectations. This is actually a remake of a direct-to-TV movie that was based on a Stephen King novel about a clown that terrorizes a small town. And the first thing you notice is that this isn't some cheaply made film. There's a lot of care that clearly went into pretty much every aspect of the film, starting with the main characters and their performances. The story follows a group of kids and how they deal with this terror in their hometown. And I started thinking about, well, which were the standout performances? But the truth is that there were many of them. Jaden Lieberer does a great job as the main character, even though sometimes he comes off a little bit emotionally stilted and his stutter doesn't always work. But generally you find him sympathetic and you want to root for him. And Sophia Lillis does a great job with Bev, especially in the way that she rides that fine line between hopefulness and brokenness. And Jeremy Ray Taylor is someone that I hope grows up into a career of acting, because there's something really genuine and honest about his performance and I just want to see more. On top of that, you have Jack Dylan Grazer, who does a great job with a machine gun load of dialogue that's delivered in a manner that still is convincing and effective. It makes us laugh and it makes us endeared to him. In fact, all the characters were pretty endearing. At the beginning of the film, they aren't all connected to one another, and the script does a great job of bringing them together in a way that feels organic and doesn't feel forced. Now, the main draw of the movie and the major source of concern going into this was the clown Pennywise. And of course, when the first pictures were released, people immediately compared it to Tim Curry's portrayal in the original. Yes, there is something iconic about Tim Curry's portrayal, but I do think that this version of Pennywise should be considered a complete success. There's an ominous, menacing creepiness to him that you just can't shake throughout the entire movie. And really, every single scene with him succeeds. It disturbs you. I'm not even afraid of clowns and I was disturbed. I can't even imagine what watching this film would be like if you're afraid of clowns. I wouldn't do it. And even as I was engrossed in every scene in which Pennywise appeared, there was this little voice in the back of my head that was also admiring just the creativity and the inventiveness, how they make each scene with him distinct, because he interacts with quite a few characters in the movie and it doesn't generally repeat itself. And you can tell that someone cared and put thought into what they were doing here. And in fact, this is something that carries over into the rest of the film. The movie wants you to empathize with its characters as much as it wants to scare you. The town that they live in, it feels fully fleshed out and lived in. Things are true to their time period. The characters interact in a way that's interesting and distinct, and I love how these kids' lives aren't just about their interactions with the clown. We go into how pretty much every adult in that town, whether it's parents or policemen or pharmacists, they're either evil or broken or creepy in some way. These kids are really on their own against this element. And the result is that these kids are pushed on both sides, and really it's all up to them. They're on their own together, not for some hokey friendship forever reason, but because it's literally their only option. And so it gets you to root for them and to want them to succeed. Now, I know I've been pretty positive and effusive so far, but this isn't a perfect film. The characters still do what characters in horror movies do, which is make stupid decisions like splitting up or entering into danger instead of backing away from it, just because that's how the scene needs to play out. And it was also a little difficult to follow the rules of the supernatural elements in the world. It's not like everything needs to be explained, but I do think things should be consistent. Too often it feels like the characters escape only because the plot needs them to, and not because of some rules that are being followed. Because later on things happen that make you question, well, why didn't that thing do that thing earlier instead of later? Oh, because the characters needed to survive. Got it, got it. And finally, the movie feels like it loses a little bit of momentum in the second half, especially right before the final climax. You might be checking your watch a bit. It's interesting because the original movie was adapted from the Stephen King novel, and the movie was 3 hours long. So in this case, they wisely chose to only focus on the first half of the book, but still the movie ends up being 2 hours and 15 minutes. It certainly gives characters the chance to breathe and develop a little bit more, but it certainly could have been tightened up in the second half. But hey, the movie did enough right that by the end, when it was clear that I should expect a sequel, I was on board to watch it. I was creeped out throughout the entire movie. I thought Pennywise was a big success. It got me to care about the characters, and it was really evident that whoever was making it was trying to give us something more than what we expected. And so despite its pacing issues and sometimes confusing supernatural elements, It stands on its own as an effective horror movie that rises above the standards of the genre, and that's why I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, so that was It, and I want to know if you were creeped out more by this version or Tim Curry's version. Whichever one, leave it in the comments, I'd love to know. Beyond that, if you like this video and you want to keep up with my content, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and it would be great if you were a part of that group. And hit the little bell icon to be notified when a new video goes up. Either way, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.